to me that seems to represent kind of inside the box thinking, that there are only these two choices and they're both bad. There has to be some outside the box option that York City and other school districts that are in a similar situation can consider.
Do you have any ideas?
Well, yes.
We can have the government restore state funding to education. I can tell you this, I've watched friends and colleagues get furloughed and lose their jobs. I've watched class sizes balloon. You know, my son at Devers Elementary, when he was in 5th grade, when he was in 3rd and 4th grade, he's telling me about, you know, there's 30 kids in a classroom, you know, and, you know, you have parents who now say, well, I don't want to send my kids to that school district. I don't want to send my kids there. I'm sending my kids to XYZ charter school because they can't provide, and they can't, and by default, because of what we've been given, I mean, this is what you have. You have 6 sports offered to your high school per year, 2 per season, 1 for the boys and 1 for the girls. You have really no extracurricular activities that are funded by the school without you doing any extra fundraising or coming out of your pocket for it. And then you have loss of staff and support staff and resources and programs, but you still have to be able to meet these goals and make these gains.
Erin, you were asking what solutions we do have, and we did try to show that the PSCA and NEA and the York City Education Association want to be part of the solution. So we gave a grant to the school district back in March to work to help build the internal transformation model, $249,000.
Okay.
So we want to be part of the solution in York. The YCBA wants to be part of the solution.
Was this, because this is dated in March. Is this money spent? Do you know?
I believe that the grant was already given. I remember the president of NEA was here last month, a couple weeks ago, and she said that they gave that grant to the school district. But I also wanted to say, when this discussion initiated, and back then, when they were still deciding whether or not to go 100% charter and deal with the internal plan, when the superintendent was Dr. Deborah Wortham, NAACP also got involved. And when you say that, and also what I handed to you is the national resolution on NAACP's position as of 2010 on charter schools and the charter public education system. When you say what can be done differently to make a difference, one, obviously the funding issue is huge. So hopefully we'll have someone, representation, who's mindful that our children deserve to be invested in and their education being primary, so that we can, as a state and a community, be able to compete with others by properly educating our students. So getting the money back to the school districts, the public school districts, is one. And as he mentioned, that one of the other things with the internal plan was to entice students to return. What can the city school district do? Same thing these charters are saying that they're going to do. Whereas, what are the barriers to learning? Recognizing what the barriers to learning are and trying to deal with that. And I mean, this is statistically known nationally that a lot of times when you deal with city public schools, you have lower income students, obviously more diverse students. Lower income come with problems, obviously. You have maybe single parents, you have children who are watching their siblings. Being in a city environment cause problems. You have the shootings cause trauma. Maybe even if the child or their family or their friends were not immediately victimized, hearing those shots causes instability and lack of security. So you hear these charter schools say that they develop community, family, and teacher groups with their administrators. This was discussed with the school district before. So the school district can incorporate these things. NAACP presented to the school district a Saner Safer Schools program. and that deals with the underlying trauma issues to take away from this school to prison pipeline. Don't expel, all that type of stuff. That's what's enticing to the parents. The parents are sending these students to the charter schools because of what they sell. As far as how we'll work with your student differently, we won't expel them, we won't do that type of thing, is what they sell. So if the school district incorporated some of these same things which they have the ability to do, they just have to have the mindset to do, then they will not only just gain the students return from New Hope, but they will gain other students, because, and that's the other issue, sidetrack, but that's the other issue with going 100% charters. I also spoke to another teacher who said she watched teachers go, she watched students go to these charters, and then watched them return through dissatisfaction, and that's local charters. If they went 100% charters here in New York City, there would be no place to go. They would dismantle the public school system, so where the charters in various different cities, various different states, selectively choose students who are not, they're not lower income, they're not special needs, they're not academically challenged, so their scores are higher. If they selectively chose students here with dismantling the school district, where would they go? Where would these students go? If they're not selectively choosing them, they're going to have the same problems and the same results. And as he was saying that, seeing New York City school budget is about $57 million, somewhere around there. Charter Schools USA, I had the pleasure of meeting Frank Biden, who was an advocate for Charter Schools USA. I then researched Frank Biden, and he also owns a charter. Mosaica, same thing. Mosaica's last contract, they ended early. Why? Because they were not making money. They say they're nonprofit, but they have their profit arms that have the same address, and the profit arms charges the nonprofit school up to 20% of the budget. So just as what was said is, you have an already taxed budget because of the reduced budget. And now you're saying that you can't adequately educate under that budget, we need more. You're going to take up to 20% of what you already have and now pay a management company who's charging you rent for the buildings. And the way these charter schools, and this is Frank Biden's companies, this is Charter School USA, who he is supporting, sort of the advocate for, and this is Mosaica. How charter schools make money is by they continuously open schools, and they charge the school district for the building, for renting space in the building, and they charge up to 20% of the budget. And that's the problem with going charter schools, and that's the problem with believing that that is the solution because of financial problems. So, okay, you take the money from the teachers and you're going to pay this management company. The management company in New York City School District are the school board of directors. The people elected them to do the job, so they need to just do the job. And if you take that power away from them, which will be done, if they believe that it's not, they're fooling themselves. You take the power away from them and give it to this management company that now you're paying up to 20% of the school budget with rental fees and management fees to do the same thing. And students, low-income students are not better educated. Students of color, Hispanics and African Americans are historically not better educated than in those type of charters than the public schools. So we're losing as a community in all ways around.
Is this transformation model off the table now? I mean,
it's not off the table. I believe we're still trying to come to the table to negotiate and come to an agreement on a collective bargaining agreement.
I guess what I'm asking is, it's a sticking point with the transformation model, which is why we're back to considering charter schools. neither one, is there a third option?
If I can speak
Sure.
frankly, I don't think, I think this was, this plan was developed as a, I don't know what the term I would use to describe it, a way to ease into charterizing the entire school district.
Sure, because
It wasn't-
individual buildings.
he couldn't come in. I mean, if you look at Tom Corbett's top individual donors are associated with either A, Marcella Shale, that's why he won't tax the gas industry, or B, charter schools. If you look at the top names on the list of the top donors, Lance Shaner, Kim Pegula, she's married to a charter school guru. You look at Van Gurigan, these guys are all the top donors for Tom Corbett are connected to A, Marcella Shale, or B, the charter schools.
Clovis
So-
is being nice.
So-
I call it premeditated murder to the
So when
school system.
when you look at his motivation, he's tasked David Meckley to come and charterize the school district. Now, how can I do this? I'll come up with this financial recovery plan. I'll put in some things in place that I know, some achievement goal measures that I know they're not gonna be able to meet. And we're crushing them with their budget, so they're gonna have to cut staff, they've got a high turnover rate, we're cutting programs, kids aren't gonna be successful. We'll say the teachers have to agree to some concessions. The concessions will not be a livable wage for them. There's no way they're gonna accept this deal. And then the third part, we have they're losing kids to the charter schools. Now, it did throw a little bit of a wrinkle in a wrench in his plans when New Hope was closed and we got all those kids back. That's why there's no mention of it. There's no mention of it to you guys, from you guys, in the press and the media. There's no talk about any funds that were returned to the budget. And is the budget close to being balanced? Is there a fund balance? Is there not a fund balance? Where are we now with, there's been